don't see any other way of it happening. It had to be done on purpose for this market to crash, because right now, yes, we were going to see a correction, but not bring it back below the support. Resistance are fine. We love resistance. You know, if it doesn't resist, then how are we going to have a fight? All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm going to make a very quick one today because, if I go into in-depth explanation of what I'm about to talk about, right, and especially this conversation started on Discord, if I do end up talking about it, it would take hours and hours. And if I was to do something like this, I would probably have to do it on a live stream and just go on for a few hours. But let's just do this here right now, right? Okay, so on Discord we mentioned something about someone asked me, like, what do I think Bitcoin could be? Could it be 100k, 150k, 250k on the top of the cycle? And we've had a few brief exchanges of messages here and there, and I said, look, it could be $1 million, right? But time and economics is a factor. And I've mentioned this before as well, and I'm going to try and mention a little bit here as well and just briefly explain, guys, how it works, right? And it's not about how anything generally works, but it's just how I think it's going to work, right? So please do understand, this is not a financial advice. Anything I say here is purely for entertainment and education purposes, nothing else, nothing more than that. All right, you go and take this information, do whatever you want. I'm not held responsible for this. BTC, like the Bitcoin itself, right? Well, you have to understand, like, when you talk about the entire crypto market, there are altcoins and what we call shitcoins, right? And then there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the only one. It's holding its own. Even now with dominance, you can see that it's holding 50% dominance and over the entire market. It's the first one, right? Also, we think, but anyway, let's just go with this, right? So it's the first one. It's currently almost close to 14 years old. Or probably a little bit over 14 years old. And the global economical backgrounded entities, right? Let's just say entities, companies or institutions, whatever, they're all entities, right? They're just grasping what they can do with it. The power, right? The power of decentralization, they're just grasping it. So we know a lot of big entities have entered the space, and some of the entities who are small have now become big as well. Like, for example, a good example is Coinbase. Coinbase had humble beginnings, right? It started off as a basic exchange, and as it grew, it started to take a regulation quite seriously, and it started to get licenses and whatnot, and work with different countries and their regulatory frameworks. But along the line, Coinbase wanted to become a listed company, a publicly listed company. So to become a publicly listed company, obviously they're going to be selling shares and stocks and whatever, right? So when they do this, they get backed, right, by BlackRock. So BlackRock is this giant entity, this hard black rock, right? Let's just call it that, right? Close to like obsidian, whatever. Anyway, so this BlackRock company comes along and invests a huge amount of funds into Coinbase. Of course, if they do, then other institutions and other entities will come and buy shares in their company as well, which took them to where they are right now. So they are a publicly listed company trading publicly, and BlackRock holds a significant number of shares in it, as so does other companies as well who are also involved in crypto, but at a later stage, right? So you can understand these big giants, these big whale entities, right? We call them whales or entities, right? Because they have enough funding to come and enter into the sphere in a complete different way. So they've come in through the stocks, and they can see that how this thing is so powerful. It's like, wow, Bitcoin, it doesn't, we don't need much regulations, and even if you stick regulations on it, they can still trade. So it becomes one of those, like, a lot of countries and governments and a lot of economical factors are involved basically because of that. They can see that if something doesn't work out, between two countries or many countries against one country or whatever, they can always fall back to BTC. So we've become a fallback currency. So we're not like, some people say, oh, it's going to become the global reserve. No, That's never going to happen, right? Global reserve is never going to happen. So time will prove this. It will never become this. However, Bitcoin right now has established itself to be an alternative currency. That means if you have sanctions or if you have all sorts of other embargoes or whatnot, you could still bypass the system with BTC, because you don't necessarily have to go and sell it to somebody, or even on an exchange. You can go decentralized and sell it. You know, worst case scenario, if you can't buy, no problem. You can actually just go and mine the damn thing and then sell it, you know, privately, not a problem. So it opens up opportunities and doors. Now, when doors are opened for everybody, people high up, or entities high up, institutions, they lose control. So what better way to gain the control back, right, than to be in it yourself? And to be in it yourself, you can't just go and start selling small quantities or small amounts of crypto. What you need to do is sell a lot or own a lot, right? So that's the key here. So the way people, you know, are not looking at it, let's just put it this way. The way I'm looking at it is quite unique, right? So, you know, you've got MicroStrategy, which is just basically buying BTC, and people buy shares into the company, and then people make profit and loss from there. So people are not directly dealing with BTC. And so you have other companies doing the same thing, right? They're not directly dealing with BTC. And so, but they're holding, and they hold a certain amount, right? You've got other exchanges like Gemini, Kraken, Coinbase, Binance, right? Who pretty much in the top 10 list of holders of Bitcoin are there, right? So they're all there, including other individuals as well. I'm not going to go too in depth into those, right? But the point is you have all of these big giants sitting there holding a significant amount of crypto. Now, some are holding for the account holders, right? So they're holding in a cold storage like Coinbase. It's a custody service that's holding for other people, right? They're account holders and whatnot. Binance doing the same thing. So it's not Binance who owns that, but when it comes to MicroStrategy, they own that. They own close to 100,000 Bitcoin, and I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon. They own 100,000 Bitcoin, but they figured out that they can take money off other people by selling their shares, and then basically own as many Bitcoin as possible. And because people are just buying and selling the shares, they don't really have to give away the Bitcoin. But then comes along BlackRock and says, well, and by the way, BlackRock is invested in them as well. So let's leave all of that aside, like all the investments that BlackRock has made, because that's what they do. They find gems and they invest into that. But also they also recognize that sometimes you need control, right? When you have a financial a currency, right, or a global currency that is on the brink of collapse, right? USDT I'm talking about, or USD I'm talking about, right? I always go to USDT, I don't know why. USD, or any global currency like GBP, whatever, right, in my country. The point is when you know that there's a financial collapse going to happen at some stage and they need to reset. But there's, you know, when it comes to Bitcoin, they can't reset it. However, they know that this is a bypass method. So if other countries start adopting XYZ amount of BTC and they use that as their currency, then they lose control. So they need to have this control, right? So what better way to do it by saying, oh, we're gonna launch a spot ETF? They could have done that years ago, but they didn't, right? They say what they want to do it now. Even when they said they want to do it now, I couldn't get around my head. Why would they? What benefit does it give to them, right? Unless they can generate benefit, right? And the only benefits I can see is they're going to push the market to a certain price, or we're going to push the market to a certain price because they enter the space, or with their spot ETF. And I'll explain a little bit about spot ETF as well here, right? So you see normal futures ETF and XYZ, right? Or the fake ETF, let's call it fake ETF, right? So the fake ETFs are traded seriously on numbers. So you will go and trade your physical coin, or not physical but digital coin, right? You'll trade your actual BTC, right, or USD or whatever against the market purely on paper. So if you lose everything. If you gain, then they pay out, right? That's how it works, right? And of course you have a balance. Remember the casino law, right? The house always wins, right? House always wins. So it's an open casino. Fake ETF, futures ETF and whatnot is a casino house, right? That's all it is. Simple as that, right? You're going in there to lose money, full stop. 47% of the people will win. 52 0.5% or 52% of the people will always lose, because the house always makes money off you. So that's how it works, right? It's rigged from the start. And then when you have something that's so digital, you can even press a button and, you know, do whatever you want, manipulated. The Bitfinex XYZ, they were caught inside trading as well, manipulating the market. They got fined for that years ago, back in 2016, 2017, I can't remember, or 2018, one of those, but they got done for it, right? Anyway, so we leave that aside and we talk about, what BlackRock, I think they're planning to do, right? So they need to buy BTC at a very cheap price. And in fact, I think they have already been buying. So there's been this rumor going on that some particular whale wallet, a single individual wallet, has bought $3 billion worth, or 118,000 Bitcoin since March. Is it a coincidence that it's been happening since March? I don't think so. I think the market was dropped down on purpose in order to accumulate as much as possible at a cheap price, right? And then right now, obviously, if they've made a certain amount of profit, they don't really have to sell the Bitcoin. They just have to show the numbers and get enough investors to come and basically do whatever, and then manipulate the market even further to accumulate even more. So what I'm saying here is you've got this giant entity who doesn't go into anything for nothing. One of their reasons is to make a lot of money. So they're going to make a lot of money. They want to make dollars, right? Full stop. That's all they care about. They want to make the currency, right? Fiat currency. That's all they're interested in. They're not interested in crypto. They don't give a damn about technology. They don't give a damn about blockchain. In fact, they hate it. If they could have an opportunity to bury it, they would bury it tomorrow if they could, right? But they can't, because we're so decentralized. So the only other way to take control is to own as much as possible, right? So I've got a feeling that they're not just buying up, you know, just for themselves, but they're buying up. They're trying to take away the Bitcoin liquidity as much as possible to fill their pockets up, so that when or if other countries decide to take this on board, and this is the economical factor, right? If they decide to take this on board and use this as an alternative currency when everything goes to shit, then they have control. That means they can dump the price, pump the price, do whatever they want. So if other people are holding it, probably they can dump it, because when you know, there's losses are accepted in business, right? In any business, right? There's a certain amount of loss you have, right? However you're running, whether you're running some digital company, stocks and shares, bonds, assets company, whatever, you always have a allowable what's it called, expense, right? Let's call it expense. So you're allowed to waste a certain amount, right? Whether it be 10%, 20%, 15%, whatever, depending on the size of your company, you're allowed to waste that. So when you take into account close to $10 trillion, right, that they have under management, and whatever much more they have, they can afford to lose $1 trillion today and they'll be fine. That's 10%, right? They'll be fine. So this is what you have to understand. I've got a feeling they're taking control. So now, time, right? So for me, the economical factor is that they want to take control. Time. The reason I say time is, if we do have some sort of an economical change, right, and we have a great reset in the money markets, right, or whatever you want to call it, the probability of the new currency being worth the same as the current currency, right, is not there, right? It's not going to happen. Whatever the new currency is going to be showing up numbers far less. So $100 today could be $10 tomorrow. So based on that, right, it could be $5, I don't know, or even $1. But based on that theory, right, this thesis, I feel that in tomorrow's world, we could have, you know, instead of $1 million Bitcoin, we could have a 50K Bitcoin. And I've mentioned this before as well. And a 50K Bitcoin is still going to be worth equivalent to today's currency value, right? But it's just going to show up a little bit less. But your buying power is going to be a lot more. Because that's the only way to fix the money system. I mean, the planet has like 150 or 40 trillion dollars in debt. I mean, who do you get that debt from? Well, you don't. You wipe it off. And when you wipe it off, what do? You restart. When you restart, you start back at zero. When you start back at zero, the numbers change. And if the numbers are changed, then that means, you know, where it comes to BTC, one BTC is one BTC, right? One BTC equals to one BTC. Well, then your fiat currency at that time may show up less, but your buying power is going to be a lot more. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it in a political way. I'm looking at it in an economical way, and I'm looking at it in a future monetary perspective. It's like what could it be in the future? That's how I'm looking at it. So I'm saying, look, in today's currency, BTC could go to $1 million. In fact, there was one person, I can't remember who. There's a company. They actually announced, they put something out, an article out, and they have this ludicrous prediction. They're saying one BTC could go to $1 billion each. $1 billion each, right? And I'm like, actually, they're not wrong. In today's monetary situation, the way the money's been overly printed and the devaluation of the money, right? Because money's inflated, remember. So all of that inflation is coming in. It could easily push BTC to $1 billion. But $1 billion is worth nothing. Tomorrow, $1 billion might only buy you a normal 2-bedroom house. Whereas in today, it's probably 200k or 300,000 pounds in UK, or pounds, or $400,000 for an average house, right? So if you look at that maths, I bought a house for $1 billion, yeah, because your money shits, right? That's why you paid $1 billion. You know, it's the same thing happening all over the world, right? And other countries, it's happened already, where people are walking around with with truckloads of money. You know, there was a video of Venezuela where someone left $1 million or million Venezuelan, whatever, and it's just sitting there. No one's even touching it. There's money on the streets. A brilliant video I saw, right? I'm sure it's, it's a fake video, but the point is I understand the concept. That's what happens when you have money worth less than toilet paper. No one wants it. No one wants it. So that's the situation that could happen, right? But however, on the other side, on the flip side, right, and this is probably for the better, it could be worth 10k. It could be worth 20k. It could be worth 50k. And I see the positive side of this. I'm like, oh, that means money's going to be fixed. That means my 200k house today, I could buy it for 50k. Does it look bad? No, it's just the money's being revalued, right? So, we have this inflationary system. We have deflated the money. The currency will be deflated. So time will have to do this, right? So only time will say, obviously, what could possibly happen. But this is just a little bit of an explanation on how I think certain things are going. Crypto regulations doesn't bother me. I'll be honest with you. Crypto regulations doesn't bother me because regulation will affect people who have to be regulated. The legal system, the book that they've created out of nowhere, right? People that you haven't even elected for, who are sitting there making these legal decisions. So that doesn't bother us. You know what's going to happen when they regulate to the point of no return, right? That's for the regulators. They will kind of cause themselves a squeeze where they will lose control. And when they lose control, people are just going to say, well, do you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to move on and do what we need to do on our own. When you want certain laws, regulations, and protections to come and protect you. So we want to be regulated, right? We all want to be regulated, right? But if the regulation then prevents us from bettering our lives and, becoming better people or more wealthy, then that regulation has no space. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to create a bottleneck where they're going to come and they're going to squeeze themselves to a point where it's like, right, it's a choking point. We can't do it anymore. I mean, a funny thing is they called it Operation Choke Point 2 or whatever, right? So the funny thing is they're going to end up choking themselves. If they choke you too much, what's going to happen? Never pull a rope too hard because you're going to freaking break it. That's what's happening here right now. So everyone's being so much squeezed with all of these nonsense. They're just going to break it. So again, time comes into play, right? Time will tell, right? So, like we've seen recently, and here's a real fact, right? We've seen how they've squeezed Binance in such a way that Binance can't even operate in a lot of countries. In fact, in UK, Binance is useless. In United Kingdom, Binance is useless right now. So anybody in United Kingdom, get rid of your Binance account. It's absolutely useless to you, right? You're better off going to crypto.com, Coinbase, KuCoin, Gemini. Even Gemini is good for us, right? So around these global exchanges that have existed longer, right? They seem to be working with the regulators in some form. Of course, they're already invested by the BlackRock, again, coming back to BlackRock. But the point is they are more easier to use in a sense that, you can do whatever they provide. The services they provide, you can use all your services. Now, when Binance comes in, you can't use all the services. In fact, any services, right? The other day, I wanted to sell some USDT. I couldn't sell USDT on Binance. I could swap it, but I can't sell it. I was like, what? How does that work out? I can't put a limit order. I was like, wow, okay, so you're so fucked. You can't even do a limit order on a USDT. Fuck the GBP. I was, fuck USD. I was trying to do a USDT, sell USDT for something else. I couldn't do that, but I could swap it. I was like, okay, I'll swap the fuck out and get the hell out of here. So that's what I did, right? So that's the kind of a situation you have to understand, guys, that they've choked Binance to a point. Now, Binance, being still the largest exchange on the planet, I got a feeling I know what they're doing. Binance is not going to just fold up and just go away. No. Binance is not going anywhere. A lot of people may have not remembered, right? So you have noticed, but you haven't remembered. When Binance started growing and making money, Binance started reinvesting those money. They bought CoinMarketCap. They bought a few other decentralized exchanges. They bought a whole bunch of protocols. They've been buying up companies, right? They've been buying up a lot of decentralized protocols as well. So they've paid cash money to buy those. So what I'm thinking is, if Binance has already done that, Binance has kind of laid the foundation for a situation like this. So if something does go wrong and Binance is choked to the point where Binance can't activate or can't do anything, right? Binance is completely out of the game. Well, I've got a feeling they're still coming back out, but they're going to be more decentralized than anything else, because everything that's happening right now is hurting Binance big time. Binance has been seeking comfort, or whatever you want to say, or solution, or some sort of a financial relief from other countries to try and get them on board. But guess what? Those countries are under the thumbs of global regulators, right? Who are pushing the buttons, and those puppets are doing whatever they say. So Binance thinks it got something and it doesn't, right? So that's what's happening. They want Binance out. I mean, why would you want Binance? You haven't invested in Binance stocks. You don't own a major share in Binance stock. I'll tell you what you own a major share in. Like, I'm talking about BlackRock, Coinbase, Gemini, right? You own a major share in those, right? You own a major share in Grayscale BTC. You own a major share in MicroStrategy, right? Microsoft as well. It just, slip of the tongue, but the point is Microsoft as well. So the point is you own major shares in majority of the big boy companies that have been listed, at least, right? And even if the ones haven't been listed, at least if they're regulated enough, then you have even financed them as well. So you have this close-knit community that you are willing to work with. Binance is not part of that community. CZ is not part of that community. He's not part of your the elite circle, right? He may be a Canadian Chinese, but it doesn't matter what it is. You don't want him in the circle, and you don't want him to survive, so you're trying to choke him out. So Operation Choke Point is working, but watch and mark my word, right? It might not be tomorrow, might not be next year, but mark my words. They're going to choke the industry so much, they're going to end up choking themselves, because that's when you break everything, right? And when you break everything, people will always fall back to decentralization. That's what's going to happen. So, and as I said, because of that, and I've got a feeling because of that very same nature, they want to be in control. And the only way to be in control right now is to own majority amount of the available coins that are there. So people who are hodlers, people who have bought way back in the days, I pray that you hold on to your Bitcoin, because you're the one who's going to be protecting. Right? People who are holding, still decentralizing it. Anybody that holds their coins and whatnot, right? As long as you're not selling, you're protecting the market, because when these giants get the chance to pick up more and more and more and eventually own half of it, we're fucked. Crypto, that's it. It's going to be gone. Maybe in 10 years, 5 years, whatever, in 20 years. Now, the point is, if they own a majority stake in any cryptocurrency, just say farewell, rest in peace, is dead. So if they end up buying more BTC than the entire globe, right, combined together, we're fucked. We're fucked. So this is one of the reasons why I'm looking for an alternative. And the alternatives that I've looked at was obviously Ethereum and whatnot and this and that. I am looking at other coins as well. But you know what? When the market goes, it's going to take everything down with it, right? So I'm not going into that doomsday scenario. This is crypto Armageddon. I'm not going into this, right? But what I do believe is we need a new currency, right? A new currency a new blockchain, you know, something completely separate, something that they're not even looking at. That's what we need. So working on it, let's see what happens. We might end up doing something interesting, but it all totally depends on the community. I mean, one could only try. I'm not Satoshi, you know, I'm not Satoshi. I'm not Vitalik Buterin. I'm none of these business people, right? You know, and I'm not affiliated with BlackRock. So let's see what happens. But the point is, you know, we have we have this thought, and we want to do something that will change the industry. Whether we succeed or not depends on you, basically. So I'm not going to say much, but other than that, guys, I hope this video kind of explained the situation and how I look at certain things, right? So last few days, if you watch it right now to the end, thank you very much for that, right? I'm not going to say you to type anything. If you want to put something in the comment, put it, that's up to you. But last few days, or, you know, since the market crashed, believe me, I've been watching gardening shows, landscaping shows on YouTube, right? Or watched a whole bunch of Netflix. But one thing I didn't do is look at anything regarding the current news that's being published, anything from any influencers or anybody talking about what their theory is about crypto, right? Because I'm just waiting for everybody to turn around and say exactly what I've already said, right? It's going to happen anyway, you know, because that's I don't see any other way of it happening. It had to be done on purpose for this market to crash. Because right now, yes, we were going to see a correction, but not bring it back below the support. Resistance are fine. We love resistance. You know, if it doesn't resist, then how are we going to have a fight? But taking it below the support, that's the problem. Where did the support go? You know, and how could you have $1 billion worth of liquidations? You know, and people have short-term memory. They forget so quickly that a lot of people started doing leverage trades again. And for fuck's sake, stop doing leverage. Stop doing leverage. Those are fake trades. Leverage is fake trades. There's not, you know, when everybody's trading $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, there's not, if you do a 10x, that $10 billion isn't sitting there for you. The house always wins. You know, so that's what I'm going to say, right? But other than that, guys, like, share, subscribe. I'll catch you on another one very soon. And we can do a long session. I'll probably do a live long session at some stage. But again, I'm not going to do a live with just me and myself and my shadow sitting there, right? You know what I mean, right? So I'll organize something. I'll give you guys a time, and I'll say, like, guys, we'll do it around this time, and probably we can have a few more viewers at that time. But if I'm going to just talk to myself, then I might as well just make a video like this and drop it out there. But other than that, adios, my amigos. I'll see you on another one very soon.